Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So today's video is going to be an interesting one. I was going to do a Destiny rant video on why I haven't been having fun with the game, things I don't like about the game, this, that, and the third, all stuff that I've already kind of done. Well, I didn't want to make that video. It's so easy for us nowadays to pick apart something and point out its flaws and point out what's wrong with it, and I've already done that. When we did a podcast episode where we talked about our problem with Destiny and the state of the game, and while that was a little while ago, honestly, not much has changed. So it didn't seem fun to do another video where I essentially just repeat myself. But there's a couple things I did want to talk about. And these are the things that I like about Destiny. Things that I kind of wish to see more of, and they're honestly the reason why I make second and third characters. It's not about the loot. It's not about the grind. It's not about chasing the exotics. One of the biggest reasons why I still play Destiny is the world itself and the lore. And on the topic of lore, yes, I know I said we'd get another lore video. I'm probably going to record that tomorrow. I'm sorry, this week's been kind of rough, but that's besides the point. The world of Destiny is something that is so fascinating to me, and it's the same reason why I love World of Warcraft. It's just the escapism that can be had is something that I don't get from many other video games. Now, this could also have to do with the fact that it's technically an RPG, it's technically an MMO, but it comes down to the fact that I can play in a world and exist in a world where I make a difference, where I have these superhuman abilities, but it's more than that. You see, sometimes, especially now with the whole situation in the world, you get the feeling like you're helpless and there's not much you can do. And it sucks. And that feeling sucks. And that's a feeling that I've been struggling with a lot lately, especially with how everything is playing out. But in Destiny, I have the ability to do something. This is the reason why I have another character. This is the reason why I went from being a hunter main to making a Titan that I'm essentially role-playing as and writing fan fiction for on Wattpad. It's because I get to be in a world where I can make a difference, and I feel like I can make a difference. And it's a personal journey. Another reason, which is a big one for me, is the lore. Everything about the fantasy of Destiny is something that I've always just kind of fell in love with. Now, I may not know all of it. I may not be a lore master like Bai from Island Games. I may not understand all of it at times, and I may not be aware of all of it, but it's something that I make an effort to keep up on. Sometimes, with most things, I could probably make a better effort, but it's something that I like doing. Things I like getting excited about and interested in. Like, when I don't even remember the season, but last season, when we saved Saint 14, that was huge. When we discovered the time-lost tomb, and essentially, spoiler alert, Bungie was like, oh yeah, you die, and you were the greatest guardian the city ever saw. Like, that's amazing. Like, the lore behind Saint 14 was arguably one of the greatest guardians to ever live. And we brought him back. And we had the ability to walk through time and save him. It blows my mind. Things like the Twilight Gap, things like Osiris himself, like all these legendary guardians. That's why, honestly, Rise of Iron is still one of my favorite moments of Destiny history. Strictly for the fact that in D1 specifically, I was in love with the Iron Lords. an Iron Banner. It was my favorite thing to do. Like, I would come back every week Iron Banner showed up to play Iron Banner, to do my bounties, to get my, you know, chance at the Fellwinter's helmet for the Warlocks, the PS exclusive. Like, I loved it. Some of my favorite weapons from Destiny 1 were Iron Banner weapons. Like, my favorite pulse rifle was a legendary pulse rifle called Nerwin's Mercy. And I just had, like, you know, I didn't care. The roll was really fun, but I didn't care about the roll. My favorite sidearm was the Iron Wreath sidearm. And again, I didn't care about the roll. It was just, it was cool to me. It was the fact that I got a piece of Iron Lord history, essentially. And that was the driving force for D1 for me towards the end. Was I made a goal that I wanted my Warlock to be an Iron Guardian. And by the end of D1, that is what my Warlock looked like. He had Young Wolf's Howl with the ornament. He had all the Iron Lord armor from that, you know, expansion with the ornaments. Like, that was great. That was fantastic to me. Those are things that keep me coming back to Destiny. The world, you know, feeling like I can make a difference. The lore, learning about all the crazy shit that has happened and that could possibly happen. But another thing, which I think it's for a lot of people, is the power fantasy. Now, I mentioned earlier in the videos that one of the great things about Destiny is having these superhuman abilities. And honestly, it's really fun. Like, when I sit here and just think to myself, like, what would it be like to, like, have lightning in my fists? To literally be able to slam my hand to the ground and create an electrical shockwave. Like, that's insane. You know, essentially gliding, because that's what double jumping is, depending on your class, right? Being able to pull an arc staff out of thin air made of electricity, or being able to pull a sword that burns with the flames and heat and intensity of the sun from thin air. That's so freaking cool. And yeah, don't get me wrong, the guns are cool. Like, Outbreak is still, in my opinion, one of the best exotics, just because of how it looks. And there are other exotics that are cool too, that pull that fantasy. But the real power fantasy to me is the abilities. It's the supers. It's playing as a hunter, jumping in the air and pulling a bow from the void and letting it rip through the sky and tethering 8 to 10 thrall just in one spot, and then throwing a grenade of just space magic that just disintegrates all of them. Like, how does that not sound cool to you? But I guess that's all I've got to say. Those are the reasons that Destiny keeps me coming back for more. The world, the lore, the power fantasy, not the climb, not the grind, but the reasons for it all. Learning more about characters like the Drifter. Wondering if it's possible for Guardians to wield some form of the darkness as well as the light. Things like that get me excited, and it makes me come back to play the game. And honestly, if I was to really sit down and think about it, even in its worst states, I still came and played Destiny. I still made new characters. And I think I'm going to stick around for a while. But with all that being said, let me know in the comments, what are your favorite parts of Destiny? Is it the grind? Is it the loot chase? Is it clearing a raid? Is it learning all there is to know about the different races and the different people? Or do you just like shooting things in the face? I mean, that's cool too. But until next time, guys, if you liked the video, please feel free to give it a like and hit subscribe if you want to see more. As always, don't forget to lift, feast, and game. And remember, there's nothing wrong with being average. I'll catch you next time.